think we are live. I just gotta figure out a way to change that thumbnail for the video. Put something more normal, but it'll do for now. Create next app at latest. Rep line. Welcome to the stream. If you're in here, I don't know, anybody who tuned into my last stream would have seen that there are moments where I drop a lot of frames, and it's not on purpose. My internet is very stable, but I do have a pretty bad computer. So occasionally I'll just run out of memory. Not run out of memory, but having VS Code and Chrome open at the same time just eats up a lot of memory, especially when you have extensions running on both Chrome and VS Code. So they end up competing for resources, and one of them has to win, and sometimes that just causes a lot of issues rendering frames and TypeScript, no, TypeScript, React compiler, Tailwind. Yeah, we'll go with this. So yeah, sometimes, they end up competing for resources and something has to give. So OBS takes a back seat and I end up dropping frames. But it's usually not too bad, especially because of the content that I'm streaming. It doesn't demand a lot of like computer power, because it's just going to be a bunch of text on screen a bunch of times and me just typing. So, hopefully it won't be unwatchable. If it is unwatchable, just let me know in the comments, and I will try and take care of that and improve the streaming quality as best as I can. Also, let me know if my microphone is good, because wow, it is it's one of those 3.5 millimeter microphone that connects to your headphones, and then you connect to the other side of your computer. So if the audio is either too low or if I'm clipping, just let me know. And again, I'm learning as I go, getting more comfortable streaming and whatnot. But yeah, we're going to be building a full stack web application on stream. I try to stream for at least 1 hour every night or so. Some nights I might start earlier, some nights I might start later. But the hope is to be able to stream often and build this thing on stream, sort of like another little mini series, separate from my regular content that I post every day. So let's open this in VS Code. There we go. And I need to install Ultrasite. So I'm just gonna do Ultrasite, and I want to do Oxlint because I tried Biome and it was crashing quite a lot. And this was me just running Biome on another project that I was working on earlier, and it was crashing kind of a lot more than I was hoping it would, or at least a lot more than I was comfortable with it crashing. So, but it was really, really good. Like it was, like it wasn't bad by any means, but it wasn't stable as much as I would preferred it. But it was pretty zippy. Formats pretty quickly. It lints pretty well. And I'm not, gonna change any settings. I'm just gonna use whatever default settings that Ultrasite plugs into it, like just for the sake of setting things up a little bit faster than sitting there and checking off different settings manually one by one. Um, and we're not even gonna need AI for this project really, but whatever. Just I'm sure I'll ask for help from one of these agents at some point in the future. So we need Husky, we need Lint staged. So why not? I'll have. I mean, plus these are just settings uh, for VS Code to lint and format, not VS Code, but for these agents to lint and format the source code. So it's nothing like super invasive, which I'm okay with. But yeah, so hopefully we can get into it. We're just going to be using Next.js with uh, better auth for authentication, Neon and Postgres, database, Drizzle as the ORM, and um, we might use React Query in the future, but so far in my head, I don't think we're gonna need it. But if we are gonna need it, it's easy to set up. I also don't think we're gonna need a global state manager like uh, Redux Toolkit or ZooStand. Maybe ZooStand because it's a little bit more lightweight, and it'll be on a case by case basis. So if we get there and we ended up needing to use it, I will definitely install one of those and use it. But for now, I don't think we're gonna need it. Um, right now, if you're just tuning in, I'm installing Ultrasite, which is going to configure a biome for us for linting and formatting any code that we write. And then from there, we're just gonna, get right into writing some code. We're not gonna mess around with it. Hi, Chris. Is it JavaScript? It's TypeScript. We're gonna be using TypeScript for the project with Next.js. So, hopefully, if you have some expertise, I will definitely love some suggestions. Okay, so Ultrasite is set up. We gotta check our package.json or JSON if you want to be pedantic. Okay, this is good. There we go. I didn't even need to refresh. I didn't need to restart VS Code for it to start working. Sometimes when I install Ultrasite and configure any formatter that I'm going to use, whether it's Biome or ESLint or Oxlint and Ox format, sometimes I have to refresh VS Code for it to actually start working. But this time around, it seems like it's working just fine. One thing I will do though is I will install commitlint. So this is going to um, is it config conventional? We're also going to do cspell for spell checking. Um, and I think that's all we're going to need as dev dependencies for now. Unless if I forget it, then I forget it. But if I don't, if I remember, we'll install whatever we're missing. Um, but yeah, and we're going to need to set up uh, editor config. We're going to need the cspell configuration. We're going to need shadcn. Right, so, well, that's running actually. I'm going to do shadcn right now. Again, I might drop some frames. Every single time I open Chrome, I drop a whole bunch of frames. So yeah, we will use shadcn for the UI just because everybody's using shadcn nowadays. It's like the golden boy at this time, so we'll use it too. and I'm not really gonna spend a lot of time customizing it, but it's honestly so useful for getting somewhat decent looking front end and UI running as quickly as possible. So I'm not opposed to using it. Um, Plus, it's a again, everybody's using it. It's like the fad right now in web development to have ShadCN, and there's so many registries that you can use with it. Like I've used Magic UI in the past, and it has some really, really, really cool components. So we'll install ShadCN as well right now. And this is going to be the most boring part of the entire stream, is just the setup. At least like the first like 20 minutes is just going to be nothing but setup work, and then after that, we're going to be writing actual code. But this is the most brutal part of the entire project. Just installing dependencies, seeing that files got created, and then um, going from there. So cspell is installed. We're waiting on ShadCN because it's also going to create the utils file for us, and that's going to have that class name function, which is going to be useful for when we're making some dynamic components, well, for styling purposes with Tailwind CSS. Um, and then from there, we're going to set up Drizzle, we're going to set up Neon, we're going to set up our schemas, the auth schema. We're going to set up better auth. We're going to set up, and then we're going to write the auth schemas for the sign-in form, the sign-up form, the forgot password form, the password reset form. We're going to do the password schema setup, so we have enforce some strong password requirements, like the length of the password, the amount of characters. I mean the types of characters, so numbers, ensuring that our passwords have numbers, have special characters and whatnot. So we're gonna be doing all of that. Hopefully we can finish that under night one, and then if I have a chance to stream again tomorrow, we will do more stuff. So, but holy cow, this is taking forever, and that's why I want to get some of this stuff out of the way right now, because if I wait till later, I'm gonna be Kentucky Fried. So, all right, cool. In fact, what I'm gonna do now is move the globals.css to the styles folder, and then we'll go to layout.tsx, and we will change that import. Yes, allow. We'll change that import to come from styles for the global CSS. And then I will also need to change this, because in fact, if I launch, man, I think I'm gonna drop so many frames here in a second. Ugh, I'm kind of nervous. Actually, you know what? Let me not launch it from here, since we already have uh, this. I will just do it in the command prompt. So let's change into there, and then we'll do npm run dev from here. That way maybe it might help save us some memory. So if I go to localhost 3000, where the server should be up in 2 seconds. Okay, let this refresh. Still launching. This is because I have React compiler enabled, so it kind of takes a second, and then it will go. So it's like it has to compile itself before I can even use it. Come on. Actually, is it even activated? Next.config.ts. Yeah, so it is on. It's still compiling. Let's just restart it for the sake of being cautious. And while I'm in here, create our .env file, .env.example. If anybody's gonna want to clone and reuse, or kind of build off of what we got going on, um, they can do that with the example file. And for the time being, I'm just gonna copy this that I already have. Get ignored because it has some updates in it, and I'm gonna copy the editor config, and I'm gonna copy. I think that's it. I'm gonna copy the C-spell configuration as well, and I'm going to copy the license file. I think it's MIT, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to copy the commit lint configuration too, so we don't have to sit here and waste time rewriting it. I'm also going to copy the Husky commit message hook. Maybe it's fine. That one's easy to write, so we don't have to worry about it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so it's already actually working. I didn't need to change. Oh no, it's not. It's not working. Oh, I didn't change the font. Oh, right. Right, I didn't change the font. So there we go. We're not gonna do enter. We're just gonna do Geist, like, it's the default Next.js font. So if this refresh, it's gonna look like crap. There it is. So the font's gonna look nasty. So I just need to change this to font sans, which is what's set up in the global style sheet. And then when this refreshes itself, there we go. Now it's the font that we want to use. Again, I'm still, like, I like Geist, but for headings, it does end up looking a little wonky. Um, like, you can see the dot for the I just sits a little bit taller than the top of the D here and the T, the head of the D and the T. So for some letters, it kind of has this like little waviness to it, but we'll work with it for now because it's not that big of a deal. But if I end up feeling like we're looking kind of cooked, I'll switch this to enter or enter tight because I like that font a lot more. Okay, so we do have utils set up, and I know it's not gonna complain, but it is gonna complain about the semicolons at the end. And Shatcien installed a button component for us. Again, just gonna save to appease any biome linting complaints, but we're not gonna do anything in here. The one thing that I will copy, in fact, is I will copy this from VS Code. There we go, to ensure that everything wraps nicely. And that's just the settings that I use for VS Code. So when you install Ultrasite, it creates this VS Code .vs Code file folder for you, but I usually just use it to customize how I want my workspace to look like. So ensure word wrapping is on for certain files and off for others. So it's a pretty beefy setup, but it works pretty well for me, and I like it. So that's gonna be it. I'm gonna hold off on, you know what, whatever. Let's just go all out since we're here anyways. Uh, Disabled. I'm going to enable a couple of. Actually, no, it's recommended disabled, right? Is that the setup? Or is it at disabled? Right, recommended. So we have auto rename tag on, editor config is on. We need to activate this. This for working with .env files. This is just all personal preference. if you're doing your own project, you don't have to enable any of these. In fact, realistically, I shouldn't enable most of these, but they're just helpful in um, you know snippets, working with GitHub and VS Code. So I'm just gonna enable them for the workspace instead of for VS Code on default. I'm also going to enable Markdown lint because and Markdown lint all in one because I know for a fact we're going to uh, use the we're gonna have like a some documents, and so having that Markdown extensions are gonna be pretty helpful for ensuring that. Yeah, I mean, I'm dropping frames by the millimeter, I mean, by the millisecond, but this is for the greater good. This is for the greater good. If this is unwatchable, somebody please let me know. Please, please, please let me know. Because I don't want people to watch a stream that they is just jumping around and jittery the entire time. Come on, enable. But yeah, my VS Code is taking a beating when I'm dropping frames in OBS like it's nobody's business. But I will disable one extension though. I will disable this TMC extension because we don't need it. This is for the Python um, so that's gonna go away. There you go. For the course, the Python lessons that I do, having that extension is really helpful. But for this, we're not gonna need it, so I'm gonna leave it disabled. Again, let me know if I'm dropping frames too dramatically. If you're still in the chat, and I will try and resolve that. So this is good for us. I'm gonna close this. We're not gonna need it anymore. We will need this when we're setting up Next themes. So that's gonna be the next thing that I need to install. So I'm gonna npm install Next themes, Motion, and I think that's what we're only gonna need. We're gonna need Drizzle, ORM, Neon, Database, Serverless, and we're gonna need Better Auth, and I think that's it. think I think that's it. So we're gonna install those two, so we can get up and running, setting up the authentication. I'm just double checking to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything. So I am. Right. So I should have waited, but we're also gonna need React hook forms. We're gonna need Zod. We're gonna need Zod resolvers. We're gonna need. Yeah, we still need a couple of other things. And we're also gonna install the ShadCN components. Oh my god, yeah, we're gonna be here kind of. I think this first stream is just gonna be straight up just set up, honestly. With how laggy everything is. Oh, dude, this is so annoying. Hold on. This is kind of annoying me. Right, there's just a whole bunch of nothing in here that we need. Export default function, home. We're gonna return a div. Why is this unhappy? Okay, there we go. Hello world. We're gonna do class name, flex1, flex, item center, justify center, justify center. We're gonna do BG background because once we get next themes set up, having background be background or this color is gonna work well with our dark mode toggle functionality. So this should just change our home page here to say hello world, dead in the middle of the page. Let's see. Once it refreshes, okay, there we go. I got distracted on OBS. Is this done installing? No, of course it's not, because why would it? Um, and in the meanwhile, I'm also gonna copy. Yeah, just take your time. Not like we need to get this done at any point today. Just take your time. I'm gonna get this off screen for us. Go to GitHub. I'm gonna line. Copy the nvmrc and copy npmrc and we're gonna copy the changelog and we're gonna copy the license. Actually, we already have a license file in here, but it's empty, and I don't want to be bothered by. We'll go through all the meat and potatoes. We need hook form. We need hook form. We need resolvers. And we need Zod. So npm install Zod react hook form. We need hook form / resolvers. And I think that's it. No, that's not true. And we need markdown lint CLI2. And now I think that should be it for now. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. We'll set that up in a second. But let's get these installed too, because we're going to need Zod for schema validations. Hook form is going to be what we use to build our forms, and resolvers for these Zod resolvers, so Zod can interact with React hook form. So let's hopefully if this installs, hopefully rather faster than the other 3 things that we installed. Okay, that went by super quick. Nice. That's what we want to see. Okay, while that's going, I'm just gonna do, actually no, I can't do that because I think it'll be better if we set up Drizzle first and then set up Better Auth, because otherwise we're gonna be in trouble. So let me go to repline. Never mind. What's going on? Am I insane? Yes, whatever. Okay, so we need to do is we need to go to the source folder, make providers and hooks folders, and okay, there we go. I don't know why it wasn't refreshing. So we have our hooks folder and we have our providers folders. Inside the providers folders, we're gonna have an index.txs and we're gonna have the theme provider.tsx and we're gonna have the toast provider.tsx. Then inside of hooks, we're gonna create use app theme and use hydrated, and so these should appear right now when I click on VS Code. There we go. So we have the files in there, and so we're actually gonna set up Next themes first. And in fact, what I'm gonna do is go into the components folder, make a folder called shared. Shared, we're gonna create a file called theme toggle. Then we're gonna go back to the home. We're gonna do npx shadcn add skeleton, add spinner, input field, input group. In fact, I should probably put this on screen so you guys can see what I'm typing. Input group, we're gonna do label, checkbox, empty. We are going to do, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I have spinner, I have field, I have input group, I have label, checkbox, empty. What am I forgetting? What am I forgetting? Okay, let's just go to shadcn because, you know, once you see it, you'll remember it. Let's go to components. Any day now. Yeah, and if you're in here, you know, don't hesitate to ask questions, to engage. We're gonna need the card. And I think that's it. Tooltip, no. So we're gonna need the card. So we're gonna do card as well. We're gonna install those. So the skeleton is gonna be useful for the theme toggle component. So when we build that, we're gonna have a skeleton for the sort of the loading state before the client gets hydrated. So it's just gonna render briefly as like a blank little square, and then it's gonna you'll see it. When I start cooking, you guys are gonna see what I'm cooking. Okay, you're gonna smell what the rock is cooking. Just bear with me. No, I don't want to override. Okay, there we go. So we got all our components we're gonna need. I just installed a bunch of them right now because I don't want to sit around and wait until to populate them. Because after we set the theme up, the only thing we're gonna need to do is get straight into writing the authentication. So just bear with me. So we have to do a few things. First, I need to set up this use hydration hook. So bear with me. Let me just close all of these extra stuff. I think that's what's. We just got to be real frugal. I don't have use hydrated. Come on, open up. There we go. I don't have, you know, I don't have all that RAM that I can spare. I'm doing this on a little laptop. So I've had this laptop since I was in college, so you can probably imagine how bad and slow this is. So we're gonna use the use sync external store hook from React, and we're gonna need a cleanup function. So const cleanup is equal to just an empty function. And I know it's gonna be mad at me because it doesn't like empty functions with no bodies. And then we're gonna need no cleanup here because this function just never subscribes. But in order to use this use sync external external store hook, this is how it's set up. And then we get the server snapshot. This is during server-side rendering. So we do const get server snapshot is equal to just return false, and then client snapshot. This is for client rendering, so const get client snapshot, and that's going to be true. So this is it's what's really needed to do the hydration for the front end. We're going to export our hook here called use hydrated, and it's going to return that call to that use sync external store hook, and we're going to pass it the subscription function, the get client snapshot function, and the get server snapshot function. So this is a trick that, oh, I'm sorry, this is setup run. This should be false. It needs to call cleanup. So this is a trick that I learned when it comes to, this is an alternative way of doing a mount check, but instead of checking for mounting, as you would with the use effect hook, you can use this way to check for hydration, so your components will still render. It won't cause hydration issues when your client is hydrating, which is usually what's caused when you have Next theme set up. So this is just another way to kind of get around that, and it's one of those set it and forget it kind of thing. So this hook returns true only on the client after hydration. Okay, there we go. So that's all we need from there. Now, before we do anything else, we're gonna need this set up this use app theme hook, and this one's gonna be useful for Next themes when we set up Next themes, and when we set up our toggle for Next themes, we're gonna have this hook that's gonna pull the current theme and some functions that we can use to change the theme when we push our toggle. So that's all this is going to do. So we're going to need use client because we're going to use some React hooks in there as well. Not export, we need to import use theme from Next themes as use Next theme, because we're going to our hook is going to be you'll see. Just let me cook. Next themes, and we're gonna import. Actually, I have React compiler set up, right? We saw that. I'm pretty sure I had it set up. So we might not even use. Yeah, we do. I need to get rid of this comment. So we might not even need to use callback or use memo in here, because having React compiler set up, it's going to do that for us. So we'll leave that as that for now. If we encounter any issues, maybe we might need it. So export const use app theme, const theme, resolve theme, and set theme. We're gonna extract that from the use next theme hook from next themes. I don't know how many times I just said themes there, but goddamn. Resolved, and I spelled that wrong. Spelled that wrong again. Resolve theme is equal to dark, and it's gonna be light. Wow, that is horrific spelling. There we go. And then toggle theme is going to be this function that calls set theme, and if it's dark, set the theme to light, otherwise set it to dark. And then I think we should be good. I don't think we need to use callback or use memo because we have React compiler enabled. But actually, no, I'm wrong. I think, you know what? Import use memo from React. Can you guys still see? Is everything still kosher? I hope. I don't know how many frames I'm dropping. All I see is just red on on OBS. So, man, I hope this is watchable, and I hope the audio is fine. So we're gonna return is dark, is light, resolved theme, toggle theme, set theme, the theme, and then we're going to pass this dependency array with all this is dark, is light, and toggle theme, I think. So I think they should be happy now. Yes, go ahead and sort it for us because. Okay, so toggle theme. Okay, so Biome is telling us we're gonna need to use callback, even though we have React compile habit. I mean, it's not gonna hurt us, but whatever. So we'll import the use callback theme from React as well, and then pass it the dependency is dark and set theme, because those are the two things that we're calling inside of here. Did I set this up right? I think they should be okay. I missed. All right. I put a period instead of, and this needs to go after the closing curly brace here. There we go. Now that's gonna get rid of that. So now we get to cook a little bit more. So let's put together the where's our components? The theme toggle component, which is going to now use that hook. So this is the moment we've all been waiting for. So we're actually gonna set this up first before we set up the Next provider. And what I'm gonna do is I need some icons that we're gonna need for this component and for when we're setting up the authentication form. And I'm pretty sure I used them in another project, so I'm just gonna go ahead and copy them from there. Okay, there we go. And does it have the Eclipse? Yes, it does. And it has the Google icon. Okay, so that's it. So that's all we need. And now what we can do is set up the theme toggle. So we're gonna have a button in here. And a button's just gonna call function. So we need to call use client. We're also gonna have state in here, which again means we're gonna need use client. So Motion is a really awesome package if you want to do animations in your projects. Yeah, use Motion. Just npm install Motion. It used to be Framer Motion because the package comes from Framer, but they made it available for use basically, wherever you need it. So to animate components, to animate certain things on the page, the Motion package is really good. But when you're using it on Next.js, you just need to import from Motion React instead of just from Motion. Actually, can we just do this inline instead of? I'm so used to using Oxlint, which hates when you do. Okay, so that's happy. And then we're going to import use state, use effect, use ref from React. We need the icon. So this Eclipse icon, I just copied it from shadcn. If you go to the shadcn shared icons, if you go to the shadcn website, so this icon, it's not available. I thought it was available on Lucid React, which is the icon library that we're using for the project, but it's not available. So I don't remember how I extracted it the first time, but I'm pretty sure if you inspect element, find the header, you will find the SVG that is this icon, and then I'm just gonna borrow it, and we're gonna use that for ours, because why not? We're gonna need the skeleton component that we spent so much time importing from shadcn. We're gonna import the use app theme hook that we just created. And that's coming from our hooks, use app theme. And we're gonna need the class names function or helper function, and that's coming from lib utils. And this was set up for us by when we install a shatcn, and we're gonna need that use hydrated hook that we also created, and we're gonna create a type here, theme toggle props, and that's equal to HTML motion props button. Then we're gonna export const theme toggle. Wow. And we're gonna need a class name and props theme toggle props. Yeah, I'm gonna fix all these spelling mistakes because holy hell, when my computer is lagging, it is horrific. Like you can't even. I'm just skipping all over the place. Okay, this is our state that we're gonna use for. So what I have in my head, what I'm picturing in my head is when you click the theme toggle, the icon's gonna flip over. So it's gonna flip to the left and it's gonna flip back to the right, depending on if you're switching from light mode to dark mode or dark mode to light mode to symbolize that you've switched themes. So that's what this is gonna be used for. Then we're gonna need is dark and resolved theme. No, that's not true. We need the function we set up, toggle theme, from not from equals use app theme. So call that use app theme hook that we got, and then hydrate is going to be used as our check or as our gate to make sure that the page is the client is hydrated before our component fully renders. Use ref here. And because we're gonna need our animation is gonna be timed, we're gonna need a timeout ref so that we can make sure that this gets cleaned up. So when we push the button, the handle theme toggle function is gonna trigger. So we need to set animating to true, then call the toggle theme function. And then if the timeout ref is current, we need to clear it. We need to clear timeout. And then once that's done, right, we're gonna run it for like maybe 300 seconds. I mean, what 300 is what? Because this is in milliseconds, so this will be like 300 milliseconds. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is do our use effect. This needs to be timeout ref. I didn't install use effect. Wow, all of my imports just disappeared. Okay, if not hydrated, return the skeleton. And we're going to do size 8, rounded, large, border, background, I should say BG background, transition, all, duration 150 seconds, hover, BG secondary, just to make it a little bit light when you hover over, so the background's going to lighten up. So I need to get back this CN function, and I need to re-import skeleton from components UI skeleton like that. Yeah, I know this is always false. I don't know why it's mad at me for this. And then down here, we're just gonna return this motion dot button. Wow. And we're gonna pass props here. It didn't auto close because of course not. So this is the button component that motion has that we can inject some animation properties. And then inside here, we're also gonna have a motion.div. And this is where some of the animations are going to happen. Class name is equal to size 4. And I need to go ahead and re-grab the clips. This is going to be coming from icons from shared. Like that. Okay. Now we need to give this some class names. And again, comma class names. This is going to be the same, similar styles here. Rounded LG, border, BG background, hover, BG secondary, transition all, duration 150. Now, for the sake of, the do not repeat yourself principle, I could have just extracted this into a variable up here, and because we're going to be using it in 2 different places, but it's whatever. I know why this is unhappy, because I didn't import motion up here. I need to put this here and then do motion. There we go. Now down here we should be fine. But because we have actually place items center like that. And that's the only other difference, because with this icon here, because this doesn't have a child, so we need somewhere to center this icon in the middle of the button. And then we're going to need the onClick to call the handle theme toggle function. We're also going to need to set the type to button, so we don't have any default behaviors. And then while tap, we're just going to shrink the size of the button just a little bit, and you'll see when that happens. And nope. Switch to light mode, switch to dark mode. Right? We got to be accessibility. We got to, keep up with the accessibility rules of the day. Okay, now here we get to the meat and potatoes a little bit. So motion components, like the motion div, have these properties such as animate, and this is how you get to set some animation behaviors for your custom components. So yeah, so again, what I had in my head is when you click the button, it turns one way depending on what theme you are switching the application from. So here we're going to say rotate. If it's dark, spin 180 degrees. If it's not dark, stay at 0. Okay, and then while this is animating, just increase the size of this inner child a little bit. So during the animation phase, when it starts, the size will be 1-to-1 scale. Then when you press it, it's gonna increase just a little bit by 1/4%, and then when the animation is done, it's gonna shrink back down to being 1-to-1 size. So hopefully that makes sense. The initial state of the component, again, when it's dark, just spin 180 degrees. Otherwise, stay at 0 and the scale will be 1. And then during transition, we're gonna have this rotate, damping, stiffness maybe around 300, and type is going to be spring. So when it spins, it's going to, so this is one of those like animation types. So when it springs, it's gonna like lean over just a little bit at the end of the animation, and then it's gonna upright itself. And then scales are one of those other things again that we've been messing with, right? So the duration of this needs to be about quarter of a second, and then the ease setting for the transition is just going to be ease out. And then that should be it. So I'll take care of these in a second. What we need to do now is we need to set up the theme provider, which is in here. So again, let me just check VS Code. Hopefully you guys are still in here and are not having, not experiencing too many frames dropping. If you are, I apologize. Not much that I can do because, again, I don't have the best computer in the world. We're going to need theme provider as next theme provider, because when we export this theme provider that we're setting up, it's going to be called theme provider. So we don't have a naming conflict. Then we're going to import the theme provider props as next theme provider props from next themes. In fact, we could probably do this in line, right? Type theme provider props as next themes provider props from next themes, because they're not coming from different directories, so I think they should be okay. Type theme provider props is equal to, we're going to omit because this is going to be our single source of truth. So we don't want anywhere else for these settings to be changed or configured or wherever. So wherever this is exposed, this provider that we're setting up is going to be the single source of truth for us. Disable on transition on change, sorry. Enable color scheme. Maybe in the future we might do some custom color themes and let users pick their own themes if they want, if we set that up. No, that's next theme provider props. There we go. Okay, and then here we just export const theme provider children props read only theme provider props, and then we just need to return next theme provider pass children and then give this props among a few other things. So yeah, attribute is going to be class. So this is just going to let us change, set up, colors depending on themes. So if we do, for example, this is a component that we're building that we're going to be using in the front end, for example, right? So if I could say BG is white for light mode, and then when we switch to dark mode, I can say dark BG background or BG zinc 900, right, for a darker background. So using class names to define our appearance depending on our theme. So that's what setting attribute to class is doing for us. Default theme, wow, is going to be light. disable, and then we're just gonna pass disable transition on change, enable color scheme, enable system. Enable system is just to set this theme of the application based on what your computer uh, theme setup is. So if you have dark mode enabled on your Chrome browser, then the application will inherit that setup and will automatically switch to dark mode and vice versa. Storage key is going to be repline theme because that's the name of the project. Themes are going to be light, dark, and system. And I think we should be, I spelled enable wrong. There we go. I think we should be kosher. There we go. And then now we need to go to index and we need to set this up. And then our this index providers is going to be the application's single source of truth. So all our providers are going to be set up in here. And then, so whenever we set up more providers in the future, we don't have to go into the root layout file to do that. We can just go into here and enable those providers like that, like in here. So you'll see it once we set up Sonar. We're going to need Sonar for toasts in a second. So we want to limit the amount of times that we come in here and we touch layout.tsx. So that's why we're setting this up. And then in here, we're just going to pass children like that. I need to import providers from providers. And then we're going to suppress hydration warnings. Now, this isn't a get out of jail free card. If you're not careful, you will have components that trigger hydration warnings, and then that's going to give you a problem. So this is just kind of surface level. You will still have to, again, like how we did in the theme provider, in the theme toggle, have this hydration gate to check if your component is not hydrated, to render some sort of skeleton. And if it is hydrated, so it's going to bypass this, it's going to render out your component. And again, you'll see that in a second. So I think that should be it. So if I go back to the page.tsx and we'll do flex call, and this we're going to put it in a main, flex one, flex item center, justify center, just for the sake of testing. We're going to pass that in there. Once we do flex call, so justification is going to we'll do justify start to have everything kind of hugging the top. We're going to do header H18, W full, max W full, BG background, flex items center, justify center, container PX4, SM PX6, LG PX8, flex items center, justify start. I think that should be okay. And then we can import our theme toggle like that. Okay, it doesn't want to import. I don't know why. Do it again. There we go. Last name ML auto. Border 0. And then I I think that should be good. So let's give this a test, see how it renders. Okay, so now we're on back at the home page. Wait for this to compile. I'm loving it, sort of. Wow, we've been live for an hour. We might have to chalk it up here, but let's see. Okay, so as you can see, our theme toggle is up. So if I press it, there we go, we switch to dark mode. And if I press it again, we switch back. And as you can see, the icon is rotating to the right. And it has a little springiness to it. You can see it kind of leans over just at the very last moment when it flips. So when you have this light side facing the left, it's to symbolize that it's currently light mode. And when you press the button, it switches to the right, and the the shaded in region points to the left, which shows that you are in now dark mode. So as you can see, I think this is a pretty neat interaction. And again, if I refresh, it's harder to see it in that one because I turned the border off. But if I put the border back and save and let this compile. Okay, so now keep an eye on this, right? When I refresh, right? So you can see it still renders, you can see the border, and then after a split second, then the icon shows up. So that split second is when the hydration of the client side is happening. That's where we have that use hydration hook. So just wait until the client is hydrated, then render the component fully, and then we can use it. But so yeah, but I'm gonna keep the border off for this just because I like the way it looks without the border. And then when you hover, you can see the background turns to secondary. And again, the Shadcn colors are already pretty good as it is, so we don't really have to worry about kind of fine tuning these colors. But if you want, you could choose your own specific tailwind colors like BG Zinc 900 or BG Stone 200 or whatever for the lighter sides. But this works well for us. As you can see, it's also taking care of the text color. So we didn't even specify anything like any text colors and classes where the hello world string is being rendered. But Next Themes is taking care of all of that for us. Shadcn is also involved in taking care of that for us, so we don't even worry about it. But yeah, sweet. So we have themes set up in our application. So the next thing is to start setting up Drizzle and then once we have Drizzle set up, we can then set up, oh, actually, before I forget, I need to install Sonar, npm install Sonar, so we can set up the toast provider. So, because we created the file, so we might as well just set it up. So we're gonna import the use app theme hook from import toaster as Sonar toaster from Sonar. Import, in fact, again, we can do inline now, type toaster props as well. Then we can do import use app theme hook from at hooks use app theme. I spelled this wrong. And then we can just export const toast provider const resolved theme, spelling this horrifically, is equal to use app theme. What is going on with me? And then we can just return Sonar toaster. This needs to be self-closing. I messed that up. That way, our toasts can resolve to the themes. So when it's dark mode, they'll render like dark mode, and when it's light mode, they'll render with lighter colors. We'll also have the close button on it and position it bottom right. I think it's already on bottom right by default, if I remember correctly. But that's neither here nor there. So now Now, normally what I would have done, right, if I didn't have this uh, single source of truth where all our providers are set up, in a regular project, I'll have to go into layout.tsx, import the toast provider and then or toaster directly from Sonar and then render it here. But because I have this main providers wrapper that's wrapping the children in our layout, now every single time I want to set up a provider, I just come to this file, right? Toast provider, and I could just set up the provider in here like that. Now, it's better to set your toaster as the first child in your application, in your provider's wrapper, because if you put it, so for example, if I had like React Query enabled and a bunch of other providers, then sometimes the toast messages wouldn't even surface. So it's better to have it as the first child. Use client, forgot that, and now we should be okay. So we can test this right now. Actually, we can. I'm just gonna have a button here. Set the type to button, and then on click, we're just gonna call it toast. Hello, and just gonna press me, and then we're gonna import toast from Sonar like that. Yes, I know, but it's just for testing purposes. Again, sometimes I feel like some of these linters are set up very aggressively, where they're just gonna be mad at you for anything that you do. Right, I need to set this to a client component because we have on click on our button. So now this should work now. Just gotta give it a second to reload. And there it goes. Just screw it. I don't want to sit here and start styling buttons when we already have a button component that can do that for that's already has that set up for us. Okay, now if we go back, there we go. So now if I click press, you can see our toast is showing up down here. So now these are going to be useful. So for example, if we set up our authentication form and somebody clicks, we have the authentication system set up and somebody goes to the sign in page, they type in their credentials, then they hit sign in. So we can have a way to notify them that they've successfully signed in. So we'll render a message here like successfully signed in, and this toast plugin from Sonar is really cool because I can close the message since I've enabled the close message. The close button, so I can dismiss a toast message like that, or I can click and drag. So if I'm on desktop, I can just click and drag it to dismiss it. So now we have toasts set up, so we can get rid of this. We don't need it. Get rid of these two as well. And we can get rid of this. Now eventually, we're going to extrapolate or abstract the layout here. So this header is going to be in its own header component, and we'll just import that component because it's going to have like some navigation links in it. So we don't want to pour everything into one file and have one file handling so many different tasks. So eventually we're going to have layout components that are going to handle how things look visually. But before I close off the stream, I think it will behoove us, for those who stuck around this far, if we set up Drizzle and have that good to go. So I'm going to create the drizzle config ts file in the project root. I'm going to open that. And then, in fact, database db index.ts. And then in here, we're going to import type config, define config from drizzle kit. Hopefully, I also don't forget. I need to set up neon. Maybe we'll do that in the next video, in the next stream. Define config and db credentials. Yeah, because it's gonna be mad here. I need to set up db credentials, so I'll have to do that in the next stream. We're gonna use PostgreSQL. The output is gonna go to source database. Wow. DB migrations. Our schema is going to live also in source DB schemas. And then we're going to set verbose to true. And we're going to say this satisfies the config, even though it doesn't, because we need to why is this unhappy? I didn't install DrizzleKit? Pretty sure I did. I did not install DrizzleKit. npm install dev dependency DrizzleKit. So I think, as much as I hate, if you're in here, right, type 1 in the comments if I should continue setting up Drizzle and better auth, but we'll do all the auth schema stuff in the next stream, or if we should just do everything in the next stream. If you're in here, type 1. If you're not, just don't type anything. I doubt anybody's in here. I'm just looking for an excuse to get off. All right, and maybe we'll say 10 seconds. If we don't see any activity, we'll close the stream and then we'll continue where we left off tomorrow. What's going on? Yes, it's unhappy about this. I need to set up this custom require env function because it's useful for handling automatic throwing of errors. If this is the whole purpose of this helper function is just for when we are calling in, trying to use environment variables, so we don't have to keep manually doing if this isn't available, throw an error, alerting us that we're missing a certain variable because it's not set up in our .env file. Throw a new error. And then just return the value. And there we go. Now we can import require env from @lib env, and then our database schema, database credentials, is going to need the URL. So that way we can call right, and then that way, just to demonstrate, not require env. There you go. Now if I save that, we should get an error in here, but I guess because we didn't set this up yet. Right. So it's not that much of a problem yet because we didn't set up somewhere that's gonna use Drizzle just yet. So when we set up the schemas, you'll see it in action. So this is where I'm gonna stop the stream for today. Up for an hour and a half. I mean, an hour and 20 minutes. I think that's a pretty good stream. In the next stream, which will be later tonight, going into tomorrow night, we're gonna work on setting up better auth, the database, connecting to Neon, setting up the better auth API and client, and we're gonna do the sign in, sign up form, all those forms. We're gonna do the schemas as well, and the validation, and we're gonna set up the form components themselves so then we can test signing in and signing up. So Repline is gonna be an application for gym trainers to have a platform to interact with their clients and set up nutrition plans, set up workout plans, and whatnot. So we're gonna need, again, in my head as I'm picturing it, we're gonna need a trainer and client portal. So it's gonna be a pretty interesting and fun project to work on. I don't think it's gonna be that complex, especially for the use case that we're gonna need, right? We're not gonna be hosting any videos on there because it's just gonna be a waste of resources. So what we could end up doing is have, if trainers want to have videos on the platform, they could upload them from YouTube, and then we can pull them from YouTube onto the platform with the YouTube API, for example. So that way, if they want to share videos directly or include examples of training videos for their clients, they can get pulled into the platform instead of us manually hosting the videos ourselves, either through upload thing or through uh, uh, an S3 bucket or something like that. So I don't know. I'm still kind of fleshing out the ideas in my head, but I'm sure it will make more sense once we get to those parts. But that's really the idea behind the application. So this is going to be what we're going to be building on stream every night, hopefully for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully it doesn't take us too long to get to a working MVP. And then from there, we're just going to see where the wind takes us. So the code will be uploaded to GitHub after we finish phase one, and phase one will be the preliminary user authentication system implementation with BetterAuth. And I'm doing it with BetterAuth just because we can own that implementation. We could use, Neon has a BetterAuth integration itself, so called Neon Auth. It's built on BetterAuth, so we could have used that as well, but that means we'll be tied directly to Neon for authentication. So this allows us to have our own authentication that we can then, if we were to change, for example, database hosts in the future to another provider, for example, we can just take our configure integration and move it elsewhere off platform. So we're not tied down to one platform. But again, I had to sit down and before I even started streaming and kind of flesh out what tools and services I was going to use, and obviously we don't want to put a lot of money up front, so we got to cheap out a little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, so this is where we're going to leave off. So we set up what did we accomplish today? We set up some custom hooks. This hook lets us kind of handles theming for the application for us. And we set up next themes as well. We set up theme toggle, so we can toggle back and forth between light and dark mode. Our theme toggle is animated using the Framer Motion package, so that was pretty fun to do. We set up this hydration hook, use hydration hook, so this is sort of like a gate for us to see when the client is hydrated, then we can render components. So we use this immediately in our, where is it? The components shared in our theme toggle component. So as you can see, you're gonna see some linting in here because Biome is a little bit unhappy. I'm gonna fix this. But right here, right? So if not hydrated, render the skeleton, and the skeleton component is from ShadCN UI. We're using ShadCN in this project, and we're calling the use hydrated hook that you see here that we set up, which uses this sync external store React hook. Not really well known, but it's a really neat trick if you want to do hydration gates in your components. So instead of having to use the use effect hook to check mounting, you can use this hook to check if the client has hydrated in order to render your component. And that helps with quelling any hydration warnings and errors
that might arise, especially if you have Next themes integrated into your Next.js application. So we set this up on stream. Pretty cool. We use frame of motion to set up some animations. So that's how you can see that when we click the theme toggle, it animates, right? It moves, it rotates to the right when it's dark mode. So you have this shaded region that's facing the left. And then when it's light mode, you have the light side shaded, facing the other way to indicate that you're currently in light mode. So that's what we also set up. I'm gonna take care of these little issues that biome, our choice of formatter and linter for the project. It's a little unhappy, but these aren't like issues that are gonna break the application, and they're pretty easy to fix. But I'm tired and I want to go to sleep, so I'm gonna do that when I wake up in the morning. Um, Again, we set up theme provider with Next themes. So we have this single source of truth. Um, with our theme provider props, we've omitted all these attributes because we don't want this to be changed anywhere in the application. So what we configured here in this file is our single source of truth when it comes to configuring Next themes. And then we configured toaster with Sonar. I'm not gonna cover that. And then here we have our main application providers. So all providers in the future, like if we ever set up React query and we have to set up the query provider, that will be imported here and then mounted in here instead of having to go to the root layout file in source app and setting up there. So now we have only one place where all our providers will live and we don't have to mess around anywhere else. So that's why this convention I really like. I think it's a really good idea. So I hope some of the things that you've seen in the stream so far will be ideas that you can take on with your own personal projects and applications because I think they're pretty useful and good conventions. So yeah, in the next stream, we're gonna continue from here. We're gonna integrate BetterAuth. We're gonna integrate Zod and React hook form, and we're gonna set up the sign in and sign up form. And then depending on how long that takes, if we go over time, then the stream after that one, we're also gonna set up the password reset and the forget password flow in forums and schemas. And then we're also gonna set up resend for emails so that, when somebody signs up, we can send out an email telling them, hey, you signed up, click on this link to go confirm your email. And then we're also gonna set up Google OAuth, hopefully. So that's what's in store. So that's literally phase one of the entire project will be getting the auth system up off the ground and running and working. Right, it's not going to be robust or the most secure or the most impressive configuration. I mean, you've watched a bajillion videos, I hope, of integrating authentication with BetterAuth with Next.js. So again, it's not going to be impressive. There's like a billion tutorials on this on the internet that you can read and watch and follow along. But we're going to do it our way as well. Spice it up a little bit, and then after that, that'll be stage one completed, and then we can start working on the dashboard and the user portals. And we're also going to have to write the schemas for. Actually, no, we're not going to write that. BetterAuth is going to do that for us. So we're going to do that on the video as well. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next stream.